Have you ever had one of those mornings where just getting out of bed feels like a chore? Maybe your back aches a little more than it used to, or you reach for something and think, when did that shelf get so high? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Getting older brings its own set of changes, some physical, some emotional, and there's no denying it can be frustrating when things you used to do without a second thought start feeling like a challenge. But here's something I want you to remember. Aging doesn't mean losing control. In fact, with just a few smart, daily habits, you can stay sharp, active, and most importantly, independent. And independence isn't just about moving around or doing things on your own. It's about feeling confident, capable, and in charge of your own life. You've spent decades taking care of others, building a family, a career, a life full of experience. Now is the time to take care of yourself in a way that helps you keep living life on your terms. So today, we're going to talk about 5 simple but powerful daily habits that can help you do just that. These are small things you can start doing every day that make a big difference over time. No complicated routines, no strict diets, no need for expensive equipment. Just practical steps that fit right into your everyday life and help you feel stronger, safer, and more in control. Let's begin with something that might sound too simple to matter, but it's actually one of the most important foundations for independence. How you start your morning. Waking up with intention, instead of just going through the motions, can set the tone for your entire day. So instead of rolling out of bed and heading straight for the TV or phone, try this. Take 5 minutes to stretch. You don't even have to get out of bed yet. Just gently move your arms, circle your ankles, roll your shoulders. Loosen up your body, take a few deep breaths, and give yourself a moment to feel awake, present, and grounded. Then, when you do get up, try to do one small task for yourself before anything else. Make the bed, open the curtains, pour a glass of water. It might sound minor, but doing something purposeful right away builds a mental habit of self-reliance. It says to your brain, "I've got this." And that message carries through the rest of your day. Now, the second habit is all about keeping your body moving, but in a way that works for your lifestyle. You don't need to run marathons or lift heavy weights to stay mobile and independent, but you do need to move regularly and with purpose. One of the biggest risks to independence is losing strength or balance, and those two things decline fast when we sit too much or avoid activity because it feels like too much work. Here's what I suggest. Create a movement moment routine. Pick 3 points in your day, maybe right after breakfast, after lunch, and before dinner, and dedicate just 5 to 10 minutes to moving your body. That could mean walking around the house, marching in place while holding the back of a chair, or using the wall for gentle push-ups. You don't have to work out. You just have to move with the intention of keeping your muscles and joints awake, because strength and balance don't disappear overnight. They slowly fade when we stop using them. So use them. And trust me, your body will thank you. Not just with more mobility, but with more energy, better sleep, and even clearer thinking. It's also important to focus on movements that improve your core strength and posture, because these directly affect your ability to stand, bend, and stay balanced. And don't worry, you don't need to get down on the floor to strengthen your core. You can do simple seated twists in a sturdy chair, practice standing on one leg while brushing your teeth, or even squeeze your abdominal muscles while watching TV. The idea here isn't perfection, it's consistency. A little bit every day. That's the secret. When you show up for yourself like that, even in small ways, you're telling your body, "I'm still here. I'm still in charge." You might be surprised how quickly these tiny habits add up. After just a couple of weeks, you'll notice more confidence walking upstairs, bending to pick things up, or standing from a chair without holding onto anything. And that confidence, that's independence in action. What we're really doing with these first 2 habits is building momentum. We're waking up with purpose, and we're moving with purpose. And when those 2 things are in place, everything else gets easier. You start feeling less like life is happening to you, and more like you're steering the ship again. But of course, staying independent isn't just about the body. The next habit we're going to talk about has more to do with how we think, and it's something a lot of people overlook. In fact, It's one of the most powerful tools you can use to stay mentally sharp and emotionally steady as you age. So, now that we've looked at how your morning sets the tone, and how small movement moments keep your body ready for anything, let's move on to what's going on up here, and how one simple daily habit can help you keep your mind as independent as your body. We've spent some time focusing on the body, how you start your morning, and how you move throughout the day. But let's not forget something just as vital, your mind. You see, independence doesn't just mean being able to lift a grocery bag or walk without help. It also means making your own decisions, thinking clearly, remembering where you put your keys, and having the confidence to solve problems on your own. That brings us to one of the most powerful daily habits you can build, keeping your brain active on purpose. And I say on purpose because, let's be honest, it's easy to fall into routines that don't really challenge the mind. Watching TV, scrolling on your phone, or doing the same crossword every day may keep you occupied, but they don't always keep you sharp. Instead, think of your brain like a muscle. It needs variety, challenge, and stimulation to stay strong. So here's what you can do. Every day, pick one activity that makes your brain work just a little harder than usual. That could be learning a new word and using it in a sentence. It could be trying a puzzle you've never done before. It might be calling a friend and having a real, thoughtful conversation instead of just chatting about the weather. One woman I know, 74 years old, taught herself how to play the ukulele just last year. Not to perform, not to impress anyone, just to keep her mind engaged. She told me, "It's not about being good. It's about learning something new. It keeps me young." And that's exactly the point. You don't need to master anything. You just need to stay curious. You could also try things like writing in a journal, learning a few phrases in another language, or switching up your routine to include something unfamiliar. Even small changes like brushing your teeth with the opposite hand or walking a different route can stimulate new connections in the brain. And if reading is something you enjoy, challenge yourself to read a book that stretches your thinking, a biography, a new topic you're unfamiliar with, or even just reading aloud for 5 minutes a day. Reading aloud, by the way, is fantastic for both memory and speech clarity. Keeping your brain active doesn't need to be a chore. It should feel like play, like discovering something for the first time. And when your mind feels sharp, everything else in life becomes easier. Decisions are smoother, conversations are richer, and you feel more confident, more in control. Now let's talk about something a little more emotional, but just as important. If you're over 65, chances are you've experienced some form of change in your social life. Maybe friends have moved away. Maybe family is busy. Maybe you've lost people close to you. And while that's a natural part of aging, it can also leave you feeling isolated, or worse, like you're becoming a burden. But I want you to hear this clearly. You are not a burden. Your presence, your wisdom, your stories, they matter. And staying socially connected is one of the best ways to maintain not just emotional strength, but mental independence too. So the fourth daily habit I encourage you to build is this. Make at least one meaningful connection every day. That doesn't mean you have to have long phone calls or be surrounded by people all the time. It simply means you intentionally reach out, speak up, or interact with someone in a way that makes you feel human and seen. It could be a quick chat with a neighbor, sending a voice message to a friend, thanking the person who bags your groceries, or even joining a local group, book club, walking group, or community class. Don't wait for others to call. You take the lead. And if there's someone you miss, someone you haven't spoken to in a while, take the first step. Write them a short note, send a message, or give them a call. You'd be surprised how many people are waiting for someone else to make the first move. When you do it, you're not just reaching out. You're taking control of your emotional world. There's also a wonderful sense of dignity that comes from choosing who you connect with and how. You get to decide who brings you joy, who lifts your spirit, and who you allow into your space. That's emotional independence, and it's worth protecting. I've met people in their 80s who say, "I don't have many friends left, but I've never felt more in control of who I spend time with." That's power. That's clarity. That's independence from needing approval or attention from the wrong people. Now, at this point, we've touched on your body, your brain, and your emotional world. You're waking up with intention, moving with purpose, keeping your mind engaged, and making meaningful connections. But there's one more daily practice that ties it all together, something that doesn't take much time, but makes a huge impact on how in control you feel throughout your day. Let's take a breath together and shift toward that now. Sometimes, all it takes is a single pause, a quiet moment in the day to reflect, breathe, and ask yourself, how am I really doing today? And that brings us to the final habit in this journey towards staying independent, checking in with yourself every day. It sounds simple, but it's one of the most overlooked forms of self-care. As we get older, the world tends to rush around us. People assume we're doing fine, especially if we don't speak up. But the truth is, you know yourself better than anyone, and tuning into how you feel, physically and emotionally, is one of the strongest tools you have to stay ahead of problems before they grow bigger. Here's what this can look like in your daily routine. At some point in the day, maybe after lunch, maybe before bed, pause everything for just a few minutes. Sit somewhere quiet and ask yourself, is anything feeling different in my body today? Did something bother me emotionally that I brushed aside? Am I feeling strong, weak, tired? Content. You don't need to fix everything on the spot. That's not the goal. The goal is awareness. Because when you stay aware, you stay prepared. You don't wait until a fall, or a health scare, or a wave of sadness hits you out of nowhere. You catch the signs early. You adjust. You take care of it before it grows. One gentleman I spoke to recently, in his late 70s, told me he keeps a tiny notebook by his chair and jots down one line every evening. Sometimes it's something simple, like knees felt stiff going up the stairs. Other days, it's more reflective. Missed my wife today more than usual. He told me, that little book has become a mirror for me. It reminds me that I matter to myself. That's the heart of it. When you check in with yourself, you're saying, I matter. Not just to the world, not just to your kids or neighbors, but to you. And that sense of self-respect and self-listening, it reinforces everything else we've talked about. It helps you make better choices. It helps you take action sooner. It reminds you that your health, your energy, and your emotions are worth your time. So now, let's take a breath and look at the bigger picture of where you are in this moment. You're no longer just letting the days pass. You're starting each morning with intention. You're moving your body in ways that keep it strong and responsive. You're challenging your mind with new thoughts, playful curiosity, and mental stretches. You're choosing connection, not waiting for it, and shaping your emotional environment with care. And now, you're checking in with yourself, staying honest, present, and aware of how you're truly doing. That's not just a routine. That's a life philosophy, a way of living that says, I may be getting older, but I'm still the author of my own story. And that, my friend, is what independence really means. It doesn't mean never needing help. It doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means having the confidence, clarity, and strength to live life on your terms, to decide when to ask for support, to know when to rest and when to move, to recognize when something feels off and do something about it. Independence is not about control in the sense of perfection. It's about participation, about engaging with your day, your body, your mind, and your relationships with purpose. You don't need to be superhuman. You just need to show up for yourself. Every day. In small, consistent, loving ways. Maybe you start tomorrow by stretching before you get out of bed, or by walking around the garden after breakfast. Maybe you call that old friend you've been thinking about. Maybe you try a new word puzzle or journal for 5 minutes. Or maybe tonight, before bed, you simply pause and ask yourself how your day really felt, and listen to the answer. Whatever it is, let it be your step forward. Because each of these small actions sends a message to your brain, to your body, and to the world. I am here. I am capable. I still have a say in how my life unfolds. And you absolutely do. Before we close, I want to say this from the heart. Your life still holds endless value. Your presence, your voice, your choices, they all matter. Don't let anyone, including that little voice of doubt in your head, make you think otherwise. You've earned this stage of life. And now, It's time to live it not with fear, but with intention. Not with hesitation, but with confidence. Not alone, but with the power of daily habits that support your independence. So if any of this resonated with you, if you felt seen, encouraged, or inspired, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Share what stood out, or maybe something you've been doing that helps you feel independent and strong. Your story might just help someone else feel less alone. And if you found this video helpful, consider giving it a like and subscribing. We've got more content coming your way, always focused on helping you live healthier, happier, and more confidently after 60. Here's to you, still growing, still learning, still leading your life with strength and grace. Here's to living your best life at any age.